Me now?
Yeah, that fixed everything, Seth.
Okay, good morning. It is August 5th in Town Hall at the Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee. And I guess we'll begin with the roll call.
So we have Seth Goldstein virtually, Dennis Brennan, town historian, Dart Strayer, chairman of the CAC, Beth Greenwood, town comptroller, Elena Finnan, town attorney, Chairman Delarada, and then in the audience we have Ashok Ramasubramanian, who's going to present the NRI to you guys.
Very good. And do we have anything from the public to begin with?
I haven't received anything.
All right, and that brings us to the minutes. And it looks like we have the minutes of the meeting of April 1st, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve those? Oh, I have, oh, I see. Let's see. They are. Oh, yeah. Mine must be bringing up a different, bringing up a May 6th agenda for some reason, minutes of April 1st. So yes, it would be the minutes of July 1st. And I will make a motion to approve.
Awesome.
Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that brings us to resolutions.
So the first resolution I have proposed is a resolution accepting a $5,000 grant award from NYSERDA. I am tentatively asking that this put towards the purchase of an electric vehicle. You can use them for a variety of things. They have to be climate smart related. And I don't think I can do like 2 compost days in a year. So like the easiest thing for me to do would be to take the $5,000 and put it towards an electric vehicle. And I was talking to the lady in the Climate Smart Communities grant, and she's like, you can stack incentives. So DEC has a rebate for an electric vehicle that can also apply. This 5,000 grant could apply. And then there's also 2 state programs that we might be able to stack. So you can get sort of between like $5,000 and $20,000 off an electric vehicle, depending on its mileage and stuff like that.
And how many electric vehicles do we have now?
So right now we have 2, but we'd have to identify a department that needs another one, and we haven't done that yet. But that's tentative. But that would be, there's a lot of reasons that's a really good way to use that $5,000. In the search for the electric vehicle, we can also partner with, we can find the lowest bidder, the lowest sort of package, but partner with them and then offer that to the residents, and then we get more points for our climate smart certification. So it's sort of like a double, doing 2 things at once.
Excellent.
The second one is a resolution adopting phase 1 of the natural resource inventory prepared by JN Land Trust Services through a Niskayuna Community Foundation grant, and Ashok is here and he can speak to it. You can go right up to the podium, Ashok. Yeah. And I didn't really expect everybody to read the whole thing. I wanted to make sure the whole thing was in the document, obviously, if the town board's going to accept it. But really, we prepared an executive summary, which hopefully people will read. It's only like 4 pages. And then if you want to go more in detail, then you can dive deep into the plan.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Ashok Ramasubramanian. I sit on the Conservation Advisory Council. I'm a Niskayuna resident and I'm a professor at Union College. So for the past year and a half or so, I've been leading the natural resources inventory, which, as the name indicates, catalogs the town's existing open spaces. I will be using the pronoun we a lot, and that's just because I want people to realize that even though I'm here talking at 8:40 a.m., I really represent a whole bunch of people, and this project enjoys wide public support. And we also had a working group, still have a working group that has participation from a number of town residents, including high school students. So, you're going to, if you read the executive summary, you'll see a lot about like, preserving nature and all that. And I'm a scientist, and I'd like to always separate facts from opinions. So if I say like, oh, green space is good, that's my opinion. But if I say spending time in nature is not just important, it's essential, it's been shown to lower cancer rates, lower blood pressure, that's hard scientific fact, repeatable in double-blind controlled studies, and I have the citation right here if anyone wants it. There are, so the first phase of the natural resources inventory, we surveyed 4 parcels, the forest near the community center, the Stanford Park, Blatnick Hill, and the lands adjacent to the bike trails. And we have some recommendations in there, so I'll just highlight a couple. The first recommendation is to have a hiking trail through the community center forest. There's a number of housing developments in there. The town pool is in there. There's like lacrosse fields and stuff in there. And then people are rather interested in having a hiking trail in there. I will mention 2 things here. First of all, and almost all of the recommendations that we put in the executive summary are in line or verbatim, word for word, match the recommendations in our 2013 comprehensive plan. And even when we were surveying the community center forest, a bunch of people came to us and said like, hey, can we have a trail there? Like, yeah, that's what we are working towards. So the second recommendation is Stanford Park. This is like in the extreme southwestern section of Niskayuna. There's some paper streets in there. We recommend connecting it to the Woodlawn Preserve, which is again a priority identified in the 2013 comprehensive plan. Niskayuna needs like more wooded trails and more hiking trails. If you've been to Laishakil recently, you will see that the trail's getting rather beaten up over there. It's like heavily overused, and especially given the pandemic and the importance of spending time outdoors, it seems like an easy win. I'll also mention something here that's very often ignored, the impact on diversity and equity. Like, we happen to have some of the best green space and hiking trails within easy biking distance, certainly trivially easy driving distance to the city of Schenectady. And a lot of underrepresented minorities have or need access to some good hiking. With help from the town supervisor, we're actually trying to organize such a program in the fall. So I'm saying, preserving green space in the manner identified with the recommendations here is consistent with our own comprehensive plan, enjoys broad support, and ticks a lot of boxes. And it also obviously increases town property values. A town that's rich in green space always has higher overall median property values. Thank you. I'll answer any questions you might have.
So Ashok, I know that you spent a ton of time on this and had a lot of volunteers and definitely a lot of youth volunteers, which is really exciting to see because
you can see the cover photo on the front page, which is high school students.
Yeah. It's a lot of times it's a little bit hard to get students to be like, yay, I want to do something for government. So that was really great that you were able to make that outreach and get them all involved. And I appreciate all of the hard work that you did on it. I really like it. I think the executive summary is really helpful. I wanted to mention that even though, the entirety of the study is in here, there's still going to be a couple tweaks made before it's ready for adoption. But the CAC looked at it. It does not have anything that isn't consistent, I think, with what we always look at. So I definitely recommend adopting it if the town board is ready. And again, this was done through the grant with the Niskuna Community Foundation. So what we're hoping is phase one was a couple of these big parcels, a couple little park walkthroughs too, and then we might be able to do a phase two chunk and a phase three chunk and just keep doing this outreach to see what people, want and can visualize for the green space in their community or how we can preserve and protect it or add to it.
Yeah, I would also like to add that this was an objective identified in the 2013 comprehensive plan. And although it was identified, we needed a champion in order to take it on. And Ashok, I thank you for taking this task on. It's a lot of work, involved a lot of time. The report is very, very good. I read it. I really appreciate your effort in this. I did go on a couple of the outings with the consultant, and it's very interesting to walk the site by yourself, but then walk the site with a botanist, biologist, and actually have that individual point out all the features of the land and stuff. And it was the first time I'd been in Stanford Heights Wood area. It's actually a very, very nice area. It's not all wet. There are wetlands there, but there are dry areas there, and I think the town could really provide a good recreation area there, as is by the town pool. Again, that was an area that I had never been to on that part. I'd been on the other side, and that wooded area is actually very, very nice, and I think it would really fill out the recreational opportunities within that center. We cater to the sports. We have the pools. We have a picnic area. I think hiking trails in that area would be really beneficial for the town in that park. So I thank you, Bishop, for your efforts.
Yeah, that town and park is very close to the Hillside Apartments as well, and I think that they would get a lot of use out of that area. From a cost perspective, this isn't real costly to do. Is that safe to say? Or we haven't discussed that, I'm sure, but these aren't really, I mean, we're not going to be paving and tarring and all of that stuff, right? So this should be relatively low cost preparation work.
You are absolutely right. Please permit me to quote Mother Teresa, one of my favorite people. When she was doing a lot of work in India for the leper colonies, a reporter asked her, like, "Mother, where do you get the money to do all this?" And Mother Teresa said, "Son, money is always a solvable problem. People's good intentions and efforts are the most important. And if really money is the only thing standing in my way, God will figure out a way to do that." But to answer your question, Chairman, there are already existing hiking trails in there, and I don't have my ducks in order, but I have identified, or rather we have identified a few funding sources that we could look at if the town is unable to provide. But it is none of the projects mentioned here are cost prohibitive.
Yeah, I think part of it is just really formalizing it, John. Specifically, like if you, as Ashok mentioned, there are some trails in by the town pool, but no one knows that they exist there. So, perhaps, making them more defined and putting some signage there and marking them, which are all very low cost volunteer type efforts. I think it would work.
Well, thank you very much. That's a great service to our town. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I'd just like to note, although I love the next step, which is implementation, this is an adoption of the plan. So the plan says, yep, we're all in agreement. These are good ideas. Well, we don't have to be in agreement, but mostly agreement that these are good ideas to move forward on. And then, that gives volunteers and staff sort of the green light to figure out how to find funding or make that happen. But yeah, I think it's ready. Like we've looked at
Okay.
it for CAC and it's had some vetting. I think it's got it. It has a website, so we can put it up on the website. Happy to do an email, however we want to do it. We just want to make sure that it's tweaked before, that we've got all the typos and everything out before we put it on the website. It's really, really close. I mean, it's on the website now in the packet,
Mhm.
but
The executive summary, I have really, given it my treatment. It's completely free of errors. The remaining 80 pages, it may have one or two typos in there. But
Understandable.
Yeah.
Clark went through all 4 of them, I think, though. They're in pretty good shape.
Excellent. Thank you again.
The third resolution we have is a resolution accepting volunteer services by James McKinney Architect, LLC. That starts on page 82 of your packet. James McKinney is a local architect, lives on Stone Ridge Drive in Niskayuna. I think he had a hand in building this building or designing this building. He has a great love of Niskayuna, and he reached out to Dennis to do volunteer work on rehabbing both Lions Park and hopefully the Niskayuna Rosendale School, or I call it the Grange, but I know that's not the real name. And so he, what we talked about doing, because he's volunteering kind of such an immense amount of time, like Dennis and I are even working with him this afternoon, is to recognize the donation. And occasionally it may need a little bit of augmentation. I just want to show you guys kind of what it looks like from potentially like the planning funds. But he's already done a lot of this. Like, so he's sketched out basement floor plans. He's got this 3D and CAD. He's testing bricks and measuring, and he's starting to do 3D models of the train station. He's comparing it to some old documentation that we have, or he needs some help pulling up some old documentation to make sure that it's consistent, so that we can bring this back and make sure that it's historically accurate. It's just, I think he's already done an amazing amount of work, and I think he only thinks he's like a quarter of the way through, maybe. So, and he's already got recommendations, and all of this is prep work that you need to do for grants. So we want to formally recognize it, formally thank him for it, and then I think, sorry for the flipping, we talked about this before, but the original budget, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 if we need to evaluate masonry samples, and have plans and stuff printed for construction and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think potentially able to be covered in my own budget if we need it. And then just an incredible amount of work from a volunteer that's being done. This one is my favorite.
This really is quite a bit of work for a volunteer. That's really great that Jim is doing that. And the funding, I mean, that for just this is very minuscule, but then to do the actual building and the work that needs to be done, we have historical grants for that.
Yeah, and Jim mentioned when we first sat down with him that he's done this type of work in order to be able to leverage New York State funds. There's actually a lot of New York State funds for historic, but you have to go through a lot of hoops for them, and so that can be prohibitive to communities who don't have experts, and he's just volunteering to go through all the hoops for us.
That's great.
So, and I mean, like he said, I think I might have said this before, but he did this very same process to help with the rehabilitation of the Emily Dickinson home, I think in Massachusetts, Vermont, one of them.
Oh,
And yeah, so he's even familiar with the next step of the process. Right.
He's also familiar with federal grants.
Yeah.
He obtained, or his company at the time obtained a number of federal grants for the Emily Dickinson home. And he
Yeah.
thinks we would qualify for some of those funds as well. It's one of the primary factors in deciding whether you get those funds is you have to be on the National Register, which of course the railroad station is.
And so is the Grange.
But you have to go in with all your ducks in a row.
and this is a big duck that he's doing here. Yes. That's great.
Just a great, amazingly awesome
Yes.
resource that is just helping us out. And you can see how thorough his reports are. So all the stuff that he's been working on so far is in there.
I mean, this is probably, I don't know, from an architectural standpoint, is it tens of thousands of dollars worth of work? It's at least thousands of dollars.
It's a lot. It's
Yeah,
probably
no,
in the range of
it's more- yeah,
tens of
it's-
thousands.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
He was actually a member of the planning board years and years ago, I believe.
I thought the name sounded familiar. Huh,
So it's nice
yeah.
to see he's back involved.
Yeah, he's retired, but he maintains his all his credentials, and so this is what he loves to do, and this is what he wanted to do, and that's
Yeah,
very
no,
cool.
that's fantastic.
Great. Very good. So we'll have that resolution ready to go?
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah, I want to make sure that that's formalized so that he's working under, our okay. And then D is a resolution appointing members to the Historic Preservation Committee. After our meeting last month, we did do the email blast. We got some people who are interested. So I think we've got 5 names. I apologize. I found one late because Dennis reminded me that there's actually 2 that came in through Michelle. But we had Charles Lester III, Jim McKinney, who's doing the volunteer service, would also like to be on the Historic Preservation Committee. So that's a wonderful fit.
Mhm.
Dennis, of course. And then Lily Carroll is an archivist. And then Caitlin Shea is the one that's not in your packet, but she did submit a resume to the town board asking to be on the preservation committee, and she's an attorney. So just my opinion, but it's always good to have an attorney. Any questions about any of those guys?
Nope.
And then I have a tentative resolution appointing a member to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That resume or the letter is also in your packet for Joey Gentile. He is an architect, I think. Yeah, he's an architect. Sounds like he would be wonderful on the Zoning Board of Appeals. The only thing, when I saw the word architect, I know that we also have spots on the Architectural Review Board. You can't be on both because they recommend back and forth. He may just want to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is fine. We have spots, and I would recommend appointing him. But if you guys would permit me, I might also just be like, are you sure you want the zoning board? Because we could really use architects. But either place is completely fine, I think, unless anybody objects.
No, I mean, you can say something to him, but I think if he wants to serve on the
Zoning board,
ZBA,
yeah,
then he should serve where he wants.
yeah, and the zoning board can certainly use architects. It's a
Mhm.
great like resource for the zoning board to have while the cases are happening. So that was exciting to fill some of our spaces. And then lastly, like this just came from Susan, I think maybe yesterday, but we also had a person reach out to be on the Climate Smart community. So if I can combine those resolutions together and appoint a member to the Zoning Board of Appeals and a person to the Climate Smart Community Task Force, that would be great. The Climate Smart person was Rob McKenzie. I can forward all that information to you guys.
All right.
Love to fill the holes. We really need somebody on our Conservation Advisory Council, for the record. We did have somebody from the public come to the last CAC and watch the whole meeting, and I wanted to be at the end and be like, hey, but he left. So
He may be back.
maybe. So that's all I have for resolutions, unless you guys needed to add anything.
Do not.
Um,
We don't have Mr. Walsh today?
No, we're finalizing the planning board meeting for Monday today. We've got the 2 minor subdivisions that we've been talking about. We're still working on the Rosada Mart, which is on the corner of Union Street in Van Antwerp. They want to do an expansion there because I guess it's a very small store on the inside. And Hillside Apartments, those apartments that are kind of like on the corner of Providence and Hillside, got a new owner, so they changed all their signage. Chase Bank is back with their ATM in ShopRite Plaza and just a couple other little things that the planning board's been working on. I think it's going to be there's a lot on the agenda, though. It's going to be a long meeting on Monday. And then zoning board is going to be a really long meeting. It's 7 cases, but 2 of them are planning board cases. So Rivers Ledge's height variance is on there, and the And the Rosada Mart is also on there.
All right. And that brings us to the grants.
So for grants, we talked about this last time. We're going out to bid on Upper Union Street, Critical Bike Pedestrian Grant, and Plum Street, all tied up together. I met with Beth. We had a really good meeting so that we know what the funding is within each of those grants. And then potentially, because we're going to be doing some sidewalk, curb, ramp, ADA compliance updates to one of the sidewalk crossings that we're touching, that we may be able to use some of our ADA set aside and take our first steps to be, our first movement on our ADA transition plan. So we might be able to get all four of those wrapped in together. This engineer did tell me that construction prices are very high and our budget is small. So we won't necessarily be able to do all of these. We're going to bid it. The Critical Bike Pedestrian Grant crossing at St. Joseph is the most important one. So we're going to bid that one, and then everything else will be an additive alternate, and we'll see if we can fund them. But he did set my expectations that things are just expensive now, and we don't have the greatest amount of funds ever.
And do we anticipate the construction costs coming down anytime soon, or is this going to be their base? This is
Yeah,
the new base?
it doesn't seem, it seems like if the price of, raw lumber goes down, then treated wood goes up.
Okay.
If if gas prices go down a little, then something else. It doesn't seem like there's an overall trend of anything stabilizing anytime soon. But in some of these, we can't even wait another year. So we've got to put them out and see if we can fund them.
Yes, and the bike pedestrian grant is probably, from a safety standpoint, the
Yeah,
biggest one.
Because we worked so long to get the county to say okay to that. So, and we talked about this before. One of the things I want to do when I have, remember to do it, is print out some signs for the people who are parking in that parking lot along River Road now that says, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to block this off, start parking at Zenner, and then block it off with the signs that say, okay, now you really got to start parking at Zenner. And that way, when we actually do the construction, people will already know that there's a very nice parking spot, like less than a mile away, that, they can go and
Yeah,
park it.
I think that's really important because we don't want it to become an issue. So let's give plenty of warning.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to make like cheerful signs because I like cheerful sign. Complete Streets has been discussing the mini roundabout that was brought to us by a resident. An idea. Well, actually, we've always liked the mini roundabouts, but a resident came and was wondering if we could do that as a demonstration project. And they were looking at areas that they thought that they would be able to do it. And one of the ones that they identified was Wyoming and Baker, which the idea for it is in your packet. This is just a concept drawing, and I was not here yesterday. I had managed to schedule both my daughter's dentist appointment and my vet appointment on the same day. But I did send it to Highway and to the... It was mentioned, yeah. So we're going to be working on it over the next couple of weeks. I know the fire department wanted to know the turning radius on this one. So I got him in touch with the planner that's on Complete Streets, and he's going to talk to them. I don't think there's a lot of... This is kind of the easier part, which is the bike lane on Lexington. I haven't heard a lot of opposition to that one. I think if we put that out as a demonstration project, generally speaking, it'll be well received and people really like it. The Complete Streets kind of wanted to do two of them, like a bike lane, like in the general vicinity of the mini roundabout, so people can be going through these things and commenting on them both to see how they work.
Do we have any mini roundabouts in the area? I'm not familiar with this concept.
So there's one in Ithaca, actually, that I don't know if I'll be able to... That when the fire chief reached out, our planner on Complete Streets was able to... He has a nice picture of the one in Ithaca, and the resident that we were meeting with lived in a town in, I think, Washington State that had a lot of them. So he was used to driving through them. He thought that they worked really well. I got it. This is the picture of the one in Ithaca. Maybe a little small. You guys see. So they just sit right in the middle of the intersection. They usually have mountable curbs. Oops, to help with police and fire and stuff like that. But they're not roundabouts. Like,
There's nothing in the middle per se.
you don't have to have plants. This one has plants. But you can just have them be,
Oh, I see it.
you
Yeah.
can just have them be paint, but the plants tend to be more traffic calming.
Because otherwise you drive straight through it, right?
Well, no,
That there?
but if you have paint, it's more tempting to drive straight
Yeah.
through it. It's definitely good if you're going to implement it, if you have something that comes up vertically to remind cars that there's a mini roundabout there. Yeah, and so I guess it's been very well received in Ithaca. People there liked it, and they don't have any problems that we know of
Mhm.
them in Washington, but there aren't a lot of them around. So,
Mhm.
but like the demonstration project, we would just put up, we would just paint and then put those like cones up so that people would not be like, oh, this is visually beautiful because it's just a demonstration project,
Right.
but like, oh, this is how you drive through it. This is how logistically it would work. And then if everyone was like, oh, that's such a good idea, then you would want to build one potentially that looked nicer. But a demonstration project is just put some paint on the ground and then gather people's input on them.
Yeah, the committee had lengthy discussions over the course of 6 months about different traffic calming approaches, and this is certainly one of them. And I think this is one of the easiest ones to do as a demonstration.
I know that the ones that we have now, I think, work well. So, I mean, if these work as well as the larger ones,
Yeah, an important point to note, because we actually put a mini roundabout out when we were studying like Almeria, Knott Street, Clifton Park intersection, and we got a lot of negative feedback on them. But a lot of the comments that we got were, why are you encouraging Balltown road traffic into our neighborhood? So people were associating those big traffic circles that you see on Balltown Road and River and Rosendale. They were associating like that type of traffic with it being put in their neighborhood.
right?
So an outreach is really critical to this, because this is obviously actually the opposite. It discourages cars from driving through your neighborhood because you have to slow down,
Mhm.
you have to look, you have to go around.
Mhm.
So so it's not inviting Balltown road traffic into the Niskayuna neighborhoods. It's actually the opposite. But I think when people think roundabout, they think Latham Circle traffic,
Mhm.
Balltown Road. I love traffic circles, but there is something very weird about the Balltown Road Rexford traffic circle. I think maybe just trajectories or something, but these are pretty standard. You can just kind of plop them down in any four-way. Although Wyoming's actually a three-way, but our planner thought that would still be okay.
And right now, there's just stop signs there, right?
There's a yield sign.
Just a yield?
Yeah, and so on the demonstration, there's only one yield on Wyoming. It's a yield onto Baker. But on the demonstration project, all three sides become yields, because that's true of any mini roundabout.
Right.
So
Okay.
Laura, not only do you have to be concerned with fire trucks over there, but have you talked to Ray about this? Because snow removal, when you put things in the middle of the road, can be effective.
yeah, just very preliminary. I wasn't able to attend the highway meeting, but I did send them all the drawings, and we're gonna meet over the next couple weeks, because we always want to make sure that a complete street works for everybody.
Why is the mini roundabout being proposed versus stop signs?
Stop signs were not an option there. Yes.
Is this the same intersection that they were looking potentially for a stop sign, and then a stop sign almost got posted there, but then we were doing certain follow-up, or is this a different one?
I mean, the
Is it like
street?
east and middle and
No, this
No,
is
okay.
Wyoming and
different
Wyoming
location?
and Baker. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the nice thing about a demonstration project is it's only up for a week. and then people tell us what they think, which
All right.
sometimes they don't like it and sometimes they like it a lot.
So when do you think that will be put up?
Well, we still have to coordinate everything with police and fire and highway. And then if at least conceptually everybody's okay, then the Complete Streets would start outreach to everybody in the neighborhood, because we want to make sure that everybody in the neighborhood knows what's going on. And then once outreach was done, we would do, like a week of implementation. So I think that they were thinking like September, October.
And eventually that's going to need a resolution?
We've never done a resolution for a demonstration project. I mean, we
Okay.
could if you wanted to, though.
No, that's not necessary. Okay. All right, very good. That brings us to the Safe Streets for All grant.
So the Safe Streets for All grant keeps maybe evolving. I think the last time that Complete Streets had talked about it, we were talking about doing a study for Niskayuna, but one of our Complete Streets members works for the state, and her concern was if we did a study solely for Niskayuna, we would not have the crash data that would allow for Niskayuna projects to be federally funded. And so she felt that it was better to be under the umbrella of the CUTC, which would take the entire county's crash data into effect when we were doing applications for grants, in which case we would be back to the implementation side. The Complete Streets, still would like to help with that grant if we wanted to move forward. I'm concerned that we really don't have any shovel ready projects for it, but it can still be, a discussion that we can have. I guess we can just decide on that, how you guys want to move forward with it. They are volunteering to do as much or as little work as you guys need on that. They really like that grant.
What's become of the bike lane for Grand Boulevard?
That's funded.
It is?
Yep, that's funded through the Transportation Improvement Program, federally funded. The county manages that project. Well,
I guess, does the city go first? Do they put their bike lane in, or we don't have anything marked right now, right?
yeah, so I wouldn't expect to see changes to that road for at least another year or two,
Okay.
because that project, it's a pass-through grant, so the county gets the money for the paving and the striping. And then they submit all of their engineered plans to the DOT, who in turn submits them all to the federal government, who then comes back with comments. And so it goes up and down that chain multiple times before it gets, I think they do like 50 and then an 80, 75 and a 95, whatever. It's a slow process,
Okay.
but it is in the works.
Thank you.
But just for the record, the county got that grant, and the city of Schenectady owns its part of Grand Boulevard. So I don't know how the city of Schenectady is going to handle the bike lanes. I know they had plans for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that their part is included in the.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
Tree Council wants to release a big tree hunt this sort of the end of summer going into the fall, where people can measure the trees in their backyard and take pictures of them and submit them to the town, and we can see if we can find some of the biggest trees in Niskayuna. So we want to launch that pretty soon, and then we're really actually getting close to finalizing the street tree master plan now. We've had a couple of meetings. We're having another one this afternoon. And so hopefully we'll have here in the next month or two a street tree master plan that you guys can look at for adoption. It's a lot of work. They've been working really hard.
I bet.
And then the Conservation Advisory Council, the Lomo initiatives are still going great. I think I have brought this up before, but the EV charging station budget, the delivery charges, were not considered in the initial energy budget for the EV charging stations. So there's a potential that we need a budget mod for potentially like another $300 or something like that. But I am unclear if we need it this year or we just need to budget for it next year, because the budget contains enough money for an annual software update, but in the contract it says that the initial year, this is the cost for the initial year, and they installed them this year. So I'm wondering if we don't actually need that full amount of the renewal. I don't know when the renewal will come. So to me, if we don't need to do a budget mud, I would like to wait and see, but eventually, it either this year or next year, we need to make sure that we budget for the delivery charges, which were something that,
The delivery charges aren't extreme though, right? Are they?
I mean, it's like there's 1 meter for each station, so it's like an additional $10 to $20 for each station a month.
Okay. So it'd
So,
be under $1,000 presumably?
oh yeah, no, I think
Okay.
if we included all the delivery charges, it's like another $300
Okay.
or something like that. But if we're looking at just our energy, we didn't budget for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we are charging for them right now. So I guess quarterly we'll get a check cut from Livingston Energy to us for our portion of the revenue from them, but it's not a lot. But we will get revenue from them. I can monitor how much people are using them. They do seem to be being used. And so we will get some
Mm-hmm.
quarterly revenue from them. Climate Smart Communities Task Force, the Climate Smart grant's ongoing. Working pretty hard on benchmarking right now and putting all of our energy use into an EPA energy portfolio, which it's just a lot of data entry, but it'll get us some more points. And then I'm also still working on the compost bin day. And you guys probably heard me say this before, but the Solarized Niskayuna campaign was successfully completed. That's how we got that $5,000. We needed 10. I think we're up to like 50. Like Niskayuna just was amazing. It continues to be amazing. They're so supportive of green initiatives. I think we had the best and fastest enrollment of any community around that I know.
Great.
So just always proud of our residents for that. It's a great program. It's still going. As far as I know, they're not taking the incentive away anytime soon. So people can continue to enroll and email me with questions. Everybody's had really good questions. I like all the emails I get.
And they can enroll still on our Niski website?
Just when you're enrolling, if you want that $200 gift card, you have to make sure that you put Solarize Albany because we used their coupon. Clark's not here today. I was on the last architectural review board meeting. They were finalizing the Kelts Farm plans. They did doing a lot of work on some of the zoning board projects. Like I said, we could use another person on there, but right now they have 3 good ones and they seem to be doing really good work. So it's been going great, I think. I appreciate all the work that they're doing on the architectural review board. Building enforcement, Linda wanted me to let everybody know that we have a new fax number. It's going to take a long time to update our forms, so it seems like a great thing, but it ends up, being a lot of work still too. So anyway, we're working on it. And planning department's got the Console Road sidewalk. The Kelts Farm is nearly complete to get the as-built ready and all the documents signed and turned over to the town. Vincenzo subdivision is also nearly complete. We're finishing that. 2340 Notch Street East, Notch Landing, that was completed. He does have a couple trees to replace, but he's not going to replace them to the fall because everything's burning to a crisp right now. And then Harmon Grove, super close. Sent a couple emails on Wednesday. We're just finalizing those documents, and that should be done by the end of within a week or 2. Do you have anything, Elena?
I'll just say the logo work group did have its first meeting in July, and fortunately, Marie Bozeman has a volunteer who's coming, not joining the group, but a woman who is a local resident, a Niskayuna resident, who is a graphic designer. And so she's come with some very good ideas about how to approach this. She's worked on other logo issues, so she's come with some good ideas about how to approach this and how to move forward. So we just had our first organizational meeting, and we're going to get together again in August and hopefully begin to think about planning something for the fall to start to reach out to people and get some comments and some input about what they might like to see in a new logo for the town.
That's very exciting.
That's off, hopefully to a good start. Excuse me. The other thing I'd like to mention, I've mentioned this a couple of times. Are we ever going to send out a email blast about all the committees that need members?
Like, just-
I wouldn't recommend doing it in August, but
Yeah.
I think it's something we really should do. I mean, we could use a few more members on the historical committee. We've got some active people, but it would always be nice to be adding new blood, I think. So, but I think that's something that you might want to consider for September.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
and I think your need is universal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're not
there's
just
a lot of
mine. I'm
committees,
talking
yeah,
about all the
yeah.
committees, yeah.
Maybe if you can send me your number of vacancies, I can put you on my running total for the boards. Yeah, so that we so that we're aware and trying to fill those. But yeah,
Well, our committee by resolution is up to 15.
I thought that we wanted to make that slightly smaller because 15
Yeah,
is a little
15
unwieldy.
15 is a little
I
unreasonable.
feel like we should bring you down to 9.
even
No,
7.
I'm not gonna give you the total number we could use to get to 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you a number.
Okay. Maybe if we get somebody to appoint, we could amend the resolution down to 9. Like I don't think we have any committees with 15, do we? That's a lot.
It's up to 15. It wouldn't require it. 15.
Oh, okay.
It's up to 15.
But how does the quorum work if you're supposed to have 15?
Well, as many as who are, right now we have 8 on the committee. So it's a quorum.
So you do like 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and one thing I forgot to put on here is that we had our first meeting of the comprehensive plan. So I'm going to have to put the comprehensive plan committee on here so that we can have regular updates. It was a really good first meeting. I was very excited by the new people that we had. And our next meeting is the 19th. So
The 19th?
the 19th.
19th
Yeah.
or 18th?
Oh, is it the 18th? It's a Monday. I just had that in my head.
That's for the comprehensive
Why
plan?
don't-
Yeah.
Just check on that date. Because I thought the 20th is,
Oh, no, that can't be the right.
no, it can't be the
It
right
must
date.
be the,
Yeah.
I will get back to you guys on that.
Well, no, I didn't see it on my calendar, but I know how the dates are going. And that
No,
doesn't
it would
sound
be
right.
like the 15th or the 20th. It must be the 15th.
Yeah, because the 19th is, I think, a Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yes, it
so,
is.
but
Sorry about that.
Friday evening would not be.
Yeah. Always look at your calendar, Laura.
So we haven't filled any board vacancy lists in the past couple months, I take it?
No, we haven't had a resolution to appoint in a little while, but like
Alright.
this month we'll have, well, we're making a new committee, but we'll have a zoning board person.
Yeah.
Potentially, and a climate smart person.
Good. And the Conservation Advisory Committee, with 3 vacancies, they still have a quorum, I take it.
Yeah, but it is tough.
It-
It is very tough.
very
Is
good.
We're
it?
supposed to have 9.
Particularly, like during the summer where people
Sure.
are in and out.
Sure.
Yeah, because we only have 6 right now.
We
So
really need to get some on there.
that one is our dire need right now. All the other ones, they just have 1 or 2,
Yeah.
1 or 2. It's not a big deal. But
Yeah.
the CAC is illegal. It's as
Yeah.
legal as a committee can get
Yeah.
from being the planning board and the zoning board. And so to have such few members is really problematic.
Yeah, I agree. We'll try to focus on that one. Okay, is there anything else further for the good of the order? I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Are there any opposed? All in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned until the first Friday of September. Thank you.
Thank you.